Okay, so we've had to restart the YouTube, hoping that it will be better now. We've had to restart the YouTube. I'm hoping it is much better now. Can you hear me now? Eh? Oh, I can even hear myself, you guys. It's better now. Check if you can hear me now. Eh? I can hear myself here. Oh, loud and clear. Why always say, oh, my village people got nothing on me. Okay, please bring the TikTok this back home. They can hear me loud and clear now. Why always say, thank you very much. Sorry, oh, this thing, the TikTok device. Loud and clear. Thank you very much. My village people, una try. Una try. But you guys cannot do nothing. Thank you very much. So let's just quickly. So for my YouTube people, I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. I don't know what went wrong with the sound. Please, I apologize. Okay, but we just pretty much talked about pot selection and why the aluminium pot is the best pot for your smoky jollof rice. And basically, what I just said is non-stick pots, any type of non-stick, ceramic, granite, whatever, and cast iron pots, they are great, right? If you want to make nice jollof rice or any other meal, but not for that smoky effect. If you are looking for that smoky effect, then you will need your aluminum pot. That's basically what we spoke about. Then we just got into key ingredients, and I was just basically talking about rice, because rice is like the major ingredients that you need for your jollof rice. If you don't have rice, you're not making jollof rice, you're basically just making stew. So I was saying that for your rice, one of the most important things to note is that you know your rice. That's what I was saying. Just know your rice. You have to be very intentional about the kind of rice that you use for your jollof rice, because it goes a long way into affecting the final result of your jollof rice. And in knowing your jollof rice, I'm not saying pick out expensive rice. Your rice doesn't need to be expensive. It just needs to be of good quality. Now, you can either use basmati rice, what a lot of us call basmati rice, or normal long grain rice, or short grain rice. There's long grain and short grain. You can even use any local rice. There's this rice that when I was growing up, epuma rice, you have to wash it very well, but you can use any rice at all, as in between long grain, short grain, basmati. The rice, the kind of rice is not the problem. It's the quality of rice that matters. So you have to be sure of the quality of rice that you are picking. So you need to know the kind of rice you are picking. Is it the type that once you put it on fire, it gets cooked very quickly, so you don't need a lot of water before your rice is cooked? Or is it the kind of rice that, the quick done, that kind of rice where they say, this rice is not a quick done? You have to know the difference. Personally, I advise, you see that rice where they say, the quick done, it usually doesn't come out mushy if you cook it properly and if you follow the right steps. So that is the kind of rice that you actually want to look out for when you're making jollof rice. What I like to do when I'm buying rice in the market, I like to take some of the grains and bite it in between my teeth. I don't know if that's the best way to know good rice. For basmati rice, I just use golden seller. This is not sponsored, but that's the basmati rice I've always used. It has always worked for me, so I've stuck with it. Some people prefer aeroplane and the likes. I honestly don't know. I stock with Golden Seller and all of that. But for our normal rice, you see different brands in the market every time, especially in this part of the world. So the best way that I know good rice is, I think one, the color. Two, I like to bite the grain in between my teeth. Now, if it breaks very quickly, I just discard it that this rice no go good. It go they clump together. It go they stick. It go quick done, and I may not be able to control the aftermath or the result. So I just toss it. But you see those ones that when you put it in your on your teeth, you know, the quick break, like it's hard. Those are the ones I pick. So if you have any other way that you know good rice, if you know how to select best good rice in the market, please drop a comment in the comment section. Let's learn from you. How do you select your rice in the market? Do you have any other tactics or any other tips for selecting good rice? That's the one that I use, and I like to learn from you. Now, another thing you want to do when you're making jollof rice is you want to rinse your rice properly. You want to rinse your rice, rinse the life out of the rice. Some people say that, oh, when you rinse your rice too much, you're taking out the nutrients in the rice. No, what you're doing is basically taking out the starch and the dust, like the excess starch and the dust in the rice. And when you do that properly, it helps your grains, like the grains of rice, to cook separately, and they are not, clumpy, they are not mushy, they are not all stuck together. And it also allows the ingredients to absorb into the rice better because there's less starch in the rice. Some people parboil their rice before they cook jollof rice. Let's talk about that. So you take rice from the market, you now rinse it, you now first put it on fire. When it don't boil small, you go come sieve the water before you start your jollof rice. I don't recommend that process. Now, parboiling your rice is not bad. It's not a bad step to take when you're making jollof rice. However, when you parboil your rice, you have basically just loosened up the rice a bit. So what happens is the rice does not have the capacity to soak up most of the sauce for your jollof rice, like your tomato base. The rice doesn't have the capacity to soak it up because it's almost cooked. So before you know, the rice don't already cook. It doesn't have enough time to cook, so it doesn't really soak up most of the it doesn't really soak on most of the sauce. And then again, that's where you get rice that when you put it in your mouth, it tastes good. But by the time you start to chew, you realize that, oh, the middle of the rice is plain, or is bland, because the sauce never enter sorry the sauce never really enter inside. So by the time the rice is cooked and everything, it's just bland in the middle, but then the outside is really tasty. So you really don't want that at all for your jollof rice. You really don't want that at all for your jollof rice. So I would say that parboiled rice is excellent for everyday cooking. You can try it, but it's not my first choice when I'm making party jollof rice, because for party jollof rice, your flavor and your aroma is key, and you need enough time to be able to control how that flavor comes out and how the aroma comes out. And parboiled rice doesn't give you the opportunity. Now, the next thing that we're going to be talking about, make I drop this one. The next thing we're going to be talking about is your stock. Now, stock is very important. It's an important base for flavor. So it's one of the important flavor layers for your jollof rice or any other meal that you're cooking, whether you're making fried rice, coconut rice. Stock is very, very important. I would say that the quality of your stock improves the quality of your jollof rice or any other meal that you're making eventually. So I'm going to show you how to make the perfect stock for your jollof rice. Now, this is chicken, right? You can use any protein of choice, but for this one, I'm using chicken, right? The chicken has been pre-cleaned, pre-rinsed, properly rinsed, and all of that. You can use turkey, you can use beef, goat's meat, whatever. Let me just quickly rinse my hands. So we are going to be using chicken for this. So can you hope you guys can see me clearly? And we have put our chicken inside the pot. Now in that chicken, you want to put some chopped onions. Very important. The quantity of onions that you use depends largely on the quantity of meat, or the amount of onions that you use depends on the amount of meat that you are cooking. So if you are cooking more meat, of course, this is not the quantity of onions that you use, but this is just one medium-sized onions. That is about 10 medium-sized pieces of chicken. So we're using a medium-sized onions for that. Now, once you've put in the onions, we're going to be putting in, this is curry powder. So we're going to be putting in a teaspoon of curry powder is enough for 10 pieces of chicken. Just like I said for the onions, the quantity of curry powder that you use depends on the quantity of meat or the amount of meat you're cooking. So if you're cooking more meat, of course, the curry powder should be more. And if you're cooking stubborn goats, like female goats, the curry powder should also be more because it take time to absorb. So for thyme, this is dried thyme. You can use fresh herbs to boil your proteins and all of that. But basically, I like dried herbs because, I mean, they know they spoil. Just leave them in the house and they have a long shelf life. So we're also using 1 teaspoon of thyme for 10 pieces of chicken. We'll be using a teaspoon of rosemary as well. This is dried rosemary also. A teaspoon of paprika powder. A teaspoon of ginger and garlic powder. So if you don't have ginger and garlic powder, or you prefer the fresh one, for 10 pieces of chicken, all you need is about a large clove of garlic and about half a teaspoon of grated ginger. That's all you need for this pot. But of course, if you don't have that, you can always make do with the powdered one. So if you are using the separate ones like garlic powder, ginger powder, just put half and half and you are okay. But that what I just used is a mixture of both. Hey, I'm so sorry. It took me 1 hour to realize I was mute. My apologies. I'm a newbie. I'm not a photographer. I'm not a videographer. I'm not a professional streamer. So please pardon me. Don't worry, I'll go over the things I'd said before again. 70.81. Please. I'll go over the things I'd said before again, but just let's flow first from here. I apologize. So, like I was saying, the mixture I just put in is a mixture of both garlic and ginger powder. That's why I have 1 teaspoon of that in there. Now, at this point, what you want to do next is, if you have other spices that you can add, you can add. So if you have oregano, I have some oregano, so I might just be adding 1 teaspoon of that. If you have oregano, parsley, basically dried herbs, what it does is it amplifies the flavor of your protein, and the deeper the flavor, the better the impact on your jollof rice. So at this point, you can then add your salt or your seasoning. If you've been following me on YouTube and even on TikTok, you know that I barely use salt. I use it sometimes. I barely use. So because I'm not using salt, I'm using a tablespoon of seasoning. Now, if you are using salt, you cannot use a tablespoon of chicken seasoning. It will be too much. So once you've put the quantity of salt that you desire, right, you can just put about half a teaspoon or a teaspoon of chicken seasoning. If you're using the cube ones, for 10 pieces of this thing, you honestly just need 1 or 1.5, right? But you have to taste as you go. I will not advise you to taste that whilst it is raw. So you're going to have to allow it cook for a bit before you taste. So at this point, this is all the seasoning that we're going to put in our protein for now. Now you want to stir to ensure that everything is coated with the seasoning. I'm sorry, I'm not a professional streamer, so you know what I see inside the pot. So I'll be showing you. So this is what the chicken looks like after we have put in all of our spices and everything. It looks like we're about to marinate the chicken. So we are going to put this on fire. We are going to cover our pots and we're going to turn on our cooker. If you've noticed anything, I did not add water. That is one of the best tricks for making quality stock for any meal that you are making. The moment you put your protein on fire, you do not want to add water immediately. Water reduces the quality of your stock. It reduces the quality of the ingredients in it. So what you want is, you want these ingredients to cook with the chicken in its own juices first. After about 3 to 5 minutes, we're going to check on that, and you'll notice that the chicken has started to produce its own juice. That's what you want. That amplifies the depth of the flavor in your stock. And if you cook your protein like this going forward, you'd realize that your stock will come out tastier. It will come out with better depth of flavor, right? So just try it and thank me later. Come. Just try that and thank me later. Now, if you are wondering, assuming I don't have stock, assuming I already have fried protein in my house, or my grandmother dashed me meat and I don't have any meat that I'm boiling, but I want to make jollof rice, how do I do it without stock? Honestly, you can use plain water to make your jollof rice, but the issue with that is it will not have depth of flavor as much as someone who has made his or her jollof rice with meat stock. The chicken itself, the turkey itself, and the goat meat, they have their own flavors that they add to the food. So if you're using plain water, you're not getting that flavor. So what you may need to do is, you may need to spend more time or pay more attention to your you need to spend more time or pay more attention to your tomato base, because then you have to ensure that your tomato base has enough flavor to cover up for your lack of meat stock. I hope you got that correctly. So now that we are done with that, whilst that is cooking, we're going to go to key ingredient number 3, which is your pepper mix base. I call it pepper mix. You can call it tomato base or whatnot, but basically I call it pepper mix. And I call it pepper mix just so that we can differentiate between tomato paste, as in tin tomatoes, and the tomato mix I'm talking about. So I'll just call it pepper mix for the purpose of this. Now, the best pepper mix, I don't know if you guys can see this, the best pepper mix is made up of tomatoes, pepper, onions, tatashe. This is tatashe, chili bell pepper, red chili bell pepper. This is it, tatashe. And this is shombo. What Yoruba people call shombo. I think Hausa people call this bawa, right? Hausa people call this bawa. And I think this is supposed to be like cayenne pepper or something. But this is what makes up your pepper mix base, basically. Now, if you look at this tray, you will see that the quantity of tomatoes here is small, and then this side is filled with tatashe and shombo. Then we have quite a number of onions, and then 2 types of pepper. So this is your normal scotch bonnet, red scotch bonnet pepper, and this is yellow habanero pepper. Now, the reason why I use yellow habanero pepper is because it has its own flavor that it adds to your base, right? It has its own different flavor that it adds to your jollof rice base. It is optional. If you cannot lay your hands on it, if you cannot find it, you don't have to use habanero pepper right? But if you can, I would say add a few of this. The quantity of pepper that you use in general, or the amount of pepper that you use, which one is correct? Quantity or amount? Quantity. Quantity is what you can count. So the quantity of water, I mean that the quantity of pepper that you use depends on your preference. So what are you looking for? Do you want something spicy? Do you want, that heat to be out there? If you want that, you can always add, an extra layer of pepper so that that will come out. So basically, I don't calculate the percentage for the pepper because that depends on preference. If you even want to opt away from pepper, be opt out of pepper, pata pata, you can remove pepper totally. Now, but whatever you are doing with this your base, tomatoes should be 20%. I would explain why, but tomatoes should be 20%. Tatashe and shombo should make up 50 to 70% of the base. Then, of course, onions can take the balance 10%. So if you are using tatashe and shombo 60%, your onions is 20%, your tomato is 20%. I'll explain. Onions add sweetness and flavor to your jollof rice. So once you put a lot of onions in your pepper mix, what you are doing is you are adding sweetness to your pepper mix. But you don't want to add too much onions because you are not making onion soup or onion stew. If the onion is too much, you're going to be getting that onion taste, onion smell, and your jollof rice may turn out black rather than your pepper mix will be darker. So your jollof rice will turn out black rather than that bright red or bright orange color. Tomatoes. The reason why you're not adding so much tomatoes is tomatoes makes for acidity. Acidity is good for your jollof rice if there's a balance. But if you put too much tomatoes, you are reducing the color. So if you usually cook jollof rice and your jollof rice comes out pale, like the color is not bright red, it's not bright orange, or that is just, it looks a bit whitish, your tomatoes is too much. That is why tomatoes doesn't make for color in your jollof rice. The thing that makes for color is tatashe and shombo. And the trick to getting the perfect sweetness out of your tatashe and your shombo is to deseed it before use. If you see, the seeds have been removed from both of them. I always deseed my tatashe and my shombo before I use it for stew, for jollof rice, or for anything. And the reason is simple. Tatashe seeds tend to be bitter. So if you don't take out the seeds, there are some strains of tatashe that some species of tatashe that the seeds are bitter. If you don't take out, you may have this underlying bitter taste in your pepper mix. Now for shombo, the seeds are really hot. Most of them are hot. Some of them are bitter. So if you also don't take it out, you have also impacted on the taste, the eventual taste of your pepper mix. So I'd advise that in making up your tatashe and shombo, please deseed. And then when you are doing your pepper mix, or when you are making your pepper mix for your jollof rice, or even your stew, this is what you should note. Tomatoes is 20%. Onions can be between 10 to 20%. Pepper can be, depending on your preference. Tatashe and shombo together should make up 50 to 70% of your mixture. If you do it like that, what you've done is you've already first improved the color of your pepper mix. Second, you've improved the flavor and the taste, the sweetness. So I'm going to show you how I prep my tomato mix, right? I'm going to show you how I prep this in a second pot. So what you want to do is you want to put all of these, they've all been pre-cleaned, they've all been pre-washed. You want to put all of this into a pot. This is the easiest way to do it. I would explain another way that you can do this, but you want to put all of this whilst they are raw into a pot. Now into that, you want to add, for this quantity, right? Of course, again, the more the quantity of spices that you use. I'm going to be using 2 teaspoons of curry powder, 1 teaspoon of thyme, dried thyme, 1 teaspoon of dried rosemary, 1 teaspoon of paprika powder, 1.5 teaspoons of garlic and ginger powder. Now, if you have fresh garlic and ginger, now is the time to put it. You're putting in 2 cloves of garlic and a teaspoon of grated ginger, or half a finger of ungrated ginger is what you are putting in here. Now, once you are done with that, you want to put 2 teaspoons of seasoning. Any seasoning of choice is fine. Basically, because it's jollof rice, I like to use chicken seasoning, but you can use beef seasoning, you can use any type of seasoning of choice. Again, if you are using salt, please reduce the quantity of seasoning that you are putting inside though, because salt would obviously take out most of it. Then in here, you want to add a little bit of vegetable oil, just a little, just a little. See, my cup has not even gone anywhere as I've put it. Just a little. What this will do is it will help you bind the ingredients together. You want to stir this very well. Then you want to put this on fire. Again, notice that I did not add water. You don't need water in that. Another way that you can do what I just did is to use your oven. You can use your oven, you can use your air fryer, because basically what you are doing is you are toasting the vegetables. It adds more depth, it gives it more umami flavor, if you understand what that means. But basically it adds more depth. Toasted vegetables, toasted tomatoes, toasted tatashe, toasted shombo, they add more depth to your pepper mix. Now, if peradventure you do not have a blender at home, or you have a blender, but after making this mixture, you may not, your blender is not strong enough to blend this thing, and you need to blend in the market before you come home, or you are making this in large quantity and your blender is not powerful enough to blend all of this in large quantity, you need to blend this before you get home. What you need to do is, when you buy your vegetables from the market, beg those malams in the market to deseed your tatashe and your shombo for you. Make sure that it is properly washed, you can blend. But when they are blending it for you, please beg them that they should not put too much water. Too much water in this mixture loosens up the mixture and reduces the quality of the mixture that you are trying to make. So when they are blending it in the market for you, just beg them that please, oh, they should not put too much water. And then when you get home, when you're about to steam the vegetables, you are going to pour the blended mixture in a pot and do the same thing I've just done. So add your spices, your herbs, and your seasoning. But because it has been pre-blended with water before it is toasted, the quantity of herbs that you are adding would be slightly more, just a little bit more than what we have just put in here. So just in case, right? If you are doing it before you blend, after you blend, I recommend that you do it before you blend, because it has more depth of flavor. You can work better with it. When it is done, you see that the color is richer, right? When you do it before you blend. So I recommend that you do it before you blend. But if it is not possible, you can always recreate the process after blending and it will work. So basic things to note from pepper mix: one, your tatashe and your shombo should be more, 50 to 70%. Tomatoes, 20%. Onions, 10 to 20%. Pepper, Depends, normally I say 5%, but depends on your preference of pepper, basically. Tatashe makes for color. Tatashe and shombo makes for color, not tomatoes. Some people even add sweet red bell pepper to their tomato pepper mix, but it dey cost your hands. But it dey cost for this part of the world. So if if you want to add, if you can afford to add sweet red bell pepper, trust me, it would help for depth of flavor. It would help for depth of flavor. It would help for um color, richness of color, and all of that as well, if you can afford it. But if you cannot afford it, you can skip that. Again, another takeaway is the way you make your pepper mix goes a long way in the final result of your jollof rice. You are aiming for a thick paste, not a watery base. Like I said, water attacks the quality. So now we're going to check our meat. We don't leave our meat for fire since. So you can see that even though we didn't add water, you can see that it's beginning to produce some liquid, like I said to you. Of course, the liquid that it has produced is not as much as we would love it to be just yet, but it has been cooking for a bit on low heat. Now I'm going to increase the heat slightly, and we are going to add 2 bay leaves to that. Bay leaves help for flavor and aroma, and honestly, nothing more. So we are going to add that there, and we're going to let that come to a boil. I don't know if you can see this clearly, but our tomatoes is beginning to smoke and toast, and that is what we want, basically. Let me show you. I don't know if you can see this. Oosh, it's hot. It's beginning to toast, right? So that's basically what we want right now. So you want to stir that, of course. And you want to let it toast some more. It's going to have to toast some more for about 15 to 20 minutes. It's going to have to toast some more. So now that we are done with that, let's go to sorry. Let's go to the next active ingredient that we'll probably be needing, and that is our oil. So of course, for your jollof rice, you need oil. You need oil to fry the onions, to fry the tomato base, and the tomato paste, and all of that. You need oil for all of that. So you can either use vegetable oil or groundnut oil for your jollof rice. Now, one of the things to note again is in building rich flavor for your smoky jollof rice, I don't advise that you use plain vegetable oil. Plain vegetable oil is great, but you can enhance the flavor by flavoring that oil. So you can either flavor the oil with fresh herbs. So maybe put your oil on fire or in a pan and slow cook it on very low heat with fresh herbs like thyme, rosemary, onions, garlic, ginger, and all of that. Or the other way to do it, which is the easiest way to flavor your oil, is after boiling your protein now, you will use the oil that you want to use to make your jollof rice to fry the protein first. You can always sift it out later, but you do that. What it does is the chicken then infuses its own flavors in the oil, and the oil is slightly sweetened and slightly flavored, which also helps for depth of flavor in the eventual result of your jollof rice. If you cannot flavor with fresh herbs and you cannot flavor with the chicken, another thing you can do is add butter. Now, a lot of people skip butter when they are making their jollof rice. I think that butter is great for your jollof rice. Honestly speaking, I think it is very great, but I'll get to that um, much later. The quantity of oil you use to fry your tomato base is very important, because if you use very little oil, the tomato base will not really fry very well. So you need that for you need good quantity of oil to fry your tomato base. I usually advise that you can use a little bit more. Once your tomato is fried, you can always reduce the quantity of the oil. So now that we are done with that, basically what we have done is we've gone through key ingredients. We've talked about the rice and how the quality of your rice affects the eventual result of your smoky jollof rice. We've talked about your meat stock and why it is important to have quality meat stock and not use plain water. We've also explained what you can do if you don't have meat stock and you want to use plain water. We've also spoken about our pepper mix and how tatashe and shombo should make up about 70% of it if you are looking to make rich smoky jollof rice, and if you are looking for that vibrant color, and how tomatoes should be about 20%, onions should be 20% for sweetness, and all of that. We've also spoken now about the oil. Every other thing is important. Your spices are important. We'll come to that during the cooking process. Spices are definitely important. You need to note your spices, and of course your tomato paste itself. The kind of tomato paste you use also goes a long way. So you need to check if your tomato paste is concentrated enough. Now that we finish all the talk, let's now talk about the rice itself. We've noted all the important things. So jollof rice itself, what is the cooking process like? Guys, our meat has produced liquids. See, something that we didn't add water in, it has produced. So at this point, you can decide to leave it to continue to slow cook, or you can decide to add some water to ensure that it cooks through properly, and then you have enough liquid to make your jollof rice. What I advise at this point is, don't go and add too much water at this point, because you need meat stock. You will not go and add too much water. If you add too much water, you've basically just losing the quality. You've reduced the quality and you've losing the texture of that stock. So we're about to begin making our jollof. And like I said before, the best pot to make your jollof rice is this aluminum pot. Basically, it is very good for smoky jollof rice. But if you are not looking for smoky, of course, you can make use of cast iron and all. I don't know if you can see the heat, but the heat, will come to heat control and all of that. But just take a look, take notice of the heat. You don't want this quote type of heat. You just want something between middle and low. Basically, for now, we'll come to the heat much later. So once your pot has heated up for a bit, you are going to add in your vegetable oil. So for this practical, I'm basically using 5 cups of rice. My rice has been pre-washed. So 5 cups of rice. And for that 5 cups of rice, I am using half cup of vegetable oil. So I've just added in the vegetable oil. Now the reason why I'm using half cup of vegetable oil is because I like to use butter for my jollof rice. And I like to add my butter in 3 stages. You can add your butter in 1 stage or in 2 stages, depending on your preference. But I usually advise that you add it in 3 stages, because it helps you to build better base and it helps for extra richness. So I like to add mine at the beginning, one at the middle, and the other at the end. This is 3 tablespoons of butter. So for the first one, we're going to be adding 1 tablespoon of that into our jollof rice. When making jollof rice with this pot, you need either a wooden spoon or a silicone spoon. I hear that this stainless spoon used to make the rice burn. I don't know. That's what my mommy taught me when I was growing up. So I don't used to use stainless spoon when I'm using stainless pots for jollof rice. So I just use my beba or I use silicone spoon. So we've just added our butter and flavored vegetable oil. Now into that oil, we're going to be adding some onions. This is two medium-sized onions that have been chopped. I like to add my onions in two stages when I make jollof rice. One now and one later. So I'm going to be dividing these onions in two batches. So we'll keep the other little one for later. Now you want to fry your onions on medium to low heat. The aim is not to burn the onions. You don't want to burn it. You want it to release its flavors. You want it to release its sweetness into the oil and into the butter. So you are just basically frying it till it is fragrant. So till you start to smell that sweet onion smell in your kitchen. But at this point, I like to add in just a little bit of seasoning, nothing too much, just very small here. Now, the reason I do this is because I'm an advocate for seasoning in layers. And the reason I do that is simple. It helps me to build better flavors with whatever it is I am cooking when I season in layers. So you know all those food where you go chop, where you go say, the seasoning enter inside. This is exactly why I season little by little. I don't just put all the seasoning all at once at a particular point. I like to do it small, small. So this is the first stage of seasoning in layers. So you're just going to continue to toast your onions on medium low heat until you start to inhale that sweet onion smell. You know that your onion is ready. So the next thing that you want to add is your tomato paste. This is 3 tablespoons, sorry, of tomato paste, right? That's what you want to add for this quantity of rice. So we are going to be adding in our tomato paste into our onion, and then you want to fry this properly. So one of the things that you want to note here is that you need patience to cook your jollof rice. You want to fry this properly. Now, when you put it in the oil newly, you notice that it is still in clumps like this, right? What you want to do is you want to fry it very well till it starts to float, till the oil starts to float over the top, one, until everything has melted in the pot. I'll show you what that looks like. Basically, I like to say that you should fry your tomato paste in your onion for at least 7 minutes. So between 5 to 7 minutes. Now, the trick is not to do this on high heat. If you do this on high heat, it will burn. No, your tomato paste will turn to black and you don't want that. What you want to do is you want to fry this till it is no longer tangy, so it is not tasting sour, it is not tasting um tangy. That's what you want to do. So you want to do this on medium low heat, and you don't want to leave this unattended. So you don't want to just put that on fire and then go and be watching TV or go and be gisting with your paddy on the phone. It will burn. No. So you want to do this. Now again, remember that we are seasoning in layers. So at this stage, we are going to add a little bit of curry and some other seasoning. For this quantity of rice, 5 cups of rice, I'm going to be using 1 teaspoon of curry powder. So what I'll do now is I'll add half now. I'll add the other half later. I'll explain. Same with the thyme. We're using 1 teaspoon. Not tablespoon, please, teaspoon. So I'll add half now. I'll add half later. And we're going to do that for all of our spices. So paprika, I'm using 1 teaspoon. I'll add half now and half later. And same with our rosemary. Same with our black pepper. I like to use black pepper for jollof rice because it deepens the flavor. And of course, our seasoning. So I'm adding just a little bit of seasoning, right? About half teaspoon again. And the reason why I'm not adding a lot is, one, apart from the fact that we're seasoning in layers, two, we are going to be using our protein stock for this. So you don't want to overly season your tomato base now, so that your protein stock is not too by the time you add your stock, the rice is not too sharp or too salty. Like I always say, if you are using salt, your seasoning reduces drastically, because you don't want to make any mistakes and go and be cooking salty food or anything. So you want to continue to fry this very nicely. This should take about 5 to 7 minutes, depending on how concentrated your tin tomato or your tomato paste is. What I like to do is, after frying for a while, I like to taste it. When you taste it, you will know whether it is whether it is sweet, whether it is still tangy or sour. If you taste it and it's still a hold your mouth, know say you need to fry for a little bit longer. If you taste it and you know they hold your mouth, that means you are good to go. Another way to know that your tomato paste is ready is when you start to see that it looks like this. So it now looks like smooth particles in the pot. So you know that at this point, your tomato paste done ready. I tasted it just now, it's not holding my mouth. So at this point, we can now add our pepper mix. Now this is what the pepper mix looks like after you've gone through the process I was teaching you and you blend it. The reason why you can see some small water here is because it has been in the freezer, right? If you just blend it newly, it will look, you can see how thick the paste is. It's not runny, it's very thick. That is the aim, right? That's what you are aiming for after making your tomato paste. So we are going to be adding that into the oil. Now for 5 cups of rice, I'm using about 300 ml of blended pepper mix. Again, the quantity of pepper mix you use depends on the quantity of rice that you are making. So I'm using 300 ml of tomato mix. Now this 300 ml, you can use between 300 to 400 ml of tomato mix when you are making 5 cups of jollof rice. And that is usually determined by the quality of the pepper mix. If your pepper mix is watery, you may need to use more because it needs to be more concentrated. But if it is thick enough at this point, you can honestly just use 300 ml and it is more than enough. So we are going to fry this for a bit. And it is at this point that we're going to add in our remaining spices. So the remaining half teaspoon of curry powder will go in now. And the remaining half teaspoon of every other thing. So half a teaspoon of thyme, half a teaspoon of rosemary, half a teaspoon of black pepper and paprika. Again, I'm going to be adding a little bit of seasoning. So at this point, we have already used about 1 teaspoon and 1/4 of seasoning with no salt. Like I said, if there is salt, you would have not used up to this amount. So you can even use only salt and skip the seasoning for now. Now, because we have toasted our pepper mix, the tatashi and everything, our cooking time at this point has drastically reduced. It has basically been split in half. If you don't toast it, at this point you probably need to fry these tomatoes for like 15-20 minutes, depending on how raw it is, so that you don't start tasting raw taste of tomatoes in your jollof rice. You probably need to fry it for 15 to 20 minutes. But because we toasted it before, at this point you just need to fry for about 5 to 8 minutes. And 5 to 8 minutes is because if your tomato paste and your pepper mix is running, you need to fry for longer so that the water dries up. But if it is as thick as the one we just used, 5 minutes is honestly okay, because what you need at this point is just for it to marry the other ingredients in the pot and to suck up some flavors from the spices that you've put in it just now. So that's all you need at this point. At this point, we're going to be adding some bay leaves. So you can use 2 to 3 bay leaves for 5 cups of jollof rice. You know that you're not supposed to eat bay leaf. It's just for flavor and aroma. That's why we are putting it at this point, so that it starts to infuse its flavors into the pot at this point. I need to show you guys the water that we now have in our meat stock. Can you see how much liquid we now have in our meat? Can you see it? We didn't put any water, and the liquid is so thick. The stock is so thick, as you can see. So at this point, you can now decide to add in some water. But after adding in water, you want to taste it, whether the seasoning is enough or you need to adjust the seasoning, because once you add in water, of course, you would have reduced the quality of the stock like we discussed earlier. So you want to taste as you go. For this quantity of rice, we'll be using about 5 cups of liquid, right? For 5 cups of rice, you need 5 cups of liquid. Basically, the mathematics there is every 1 cup of rice, 1 cup of water. That's how you calculate it. I'll explain further just shortly. But for every 1 cup of rice, you need 1 cup of water. So we're going to be using 5 cups of liquid. But in that 5 cups of liquid, you have to now determine if you have up to 5 cups of stock, protein stock, perfect. Your rice is going to be rich, it's going to be flavorful. But if you don't have up to 5 cups, you can split it. Either 2 cups of stock, 3 cups of water, 3 cups of stock, 2 cups of water, 2.5 cups of stock, 2.5 cups of water. But the more the quantity of stock, of course, the richer your rice is. So that can also influence the quantity of water that you add in your stock at this point. So if you need about, say, 3 cups of stock, you may need to add like 2 cups of water here, because the stock in there would continue to increase as you add liquid. So now that our tomato is fried and the oil has basically started to float over the top, you can see the oil dropping. You can taste also to know if it is tangy. When you taste it, you will know whether it is tangy or not. Once you taste it and it is good to go, it is now time to add in your meat stock. I'd made this meat stock before this live session because I know how to delay people. I want us to be doing everything sharp, sharp. So this is 3 cups of stock. Remember I said that we're going to be using 1 cup of rice to 1 cup of liquid, whether it is stock or water. But this is 3 cups of stock that we're going to be adding into our fried tomato base. Now, I know that a lot of people at this point, they'll first add their rice before they add water. The reason is simple. They may not know how to measure the quantity of water to add in there. So they like to add the rice first, so that they not use the rice to measure the water, because they say, oh, once you add your rice, you just need the water to cover the rice small. Then you know that the water content that you put inside is good. Me, the way I do my own is I like to add in the meat stock, right? Then I like the meat stock to come to a boil with the tomato base, basically. Once it comes to a boil, I add my rice before I now add in the water. Sometimes I just add in the stock and the water first, then I now add the rice. And that's just because I know my measurements. So if you are not sure of the measurements, not a problem. You can just add in your rice first before you add in the water. But I think when everything boils together, right, it gives it a better, the taste just combines. Everything go just marry, everything go just everything go just marry, everything go there in love and unity. So it'll be easier that way. But we're going to allow that to come to a boil before we now add in our rice. Like I said, this rice has been pre-washed before now, or pre-rinsed, so to say, before now. As you can see, the rice is not parboiled. It basically is still standing one, but it has been rinsed. And remember, I was saying that if you want to know good rice, I like to bite mine within my teeth. You can do that, right? But this is how I do my own, okay? So we're going to add this in once that water comes to a boil, and we are good. So just to run through the ingredients list, for 5 cups of rice, I am using half cup of vegetable oil. The vegetable oil was pre-flavored, but you can use plain one if you don't have. Now, if you are using butter, you are using about 2 to 3 tablespoons of butter for this rice, so you can determine at what point to add it. If you are not using butter, you may need to increase your vegetable oil to about 1 cup of vegetable oil so that your tomatoes can fry very well. It's because I'm using butter. That's why it is half cup of vegetable oil. Then you need 1 teaspoon of curry powder. You can decide to split it in batches and put it in batches because we're seasoning in flavors. So 1 teaspoon of curry powder, 1 teaspoon of thyme, 1 teaspoon of rosemary, 1 teaspoon of paprika powder. Paprika powder is optional. If you don't have it, you can skip it. Black pepper is optional. If you don't have it, you can skip it. Dried rosemary is optional. But thyme and curry, you know, it has to be in your jollof rice. If you know your jollof rice no go bang. For the bay leaf, you need about 2 to 3 bay leaves for that. Tomato paste, for 5 cups of rice, you need about 3 tablespoons of tomato paste. If you think that your tomato paste is not very concentrated, you may need to increase it to 4 tablespoons. I don't want to talk about brands right now, but whatever tomato paste that you are comfortable with is fine by you. If you think that it is not as concentrated as you would like, you can always increase the quantity. Now, our pepper mix, which is made up of tatashe, shombo, onions, pepper, and tomatoes with some spices, you need about 300 to 400 ml of that, depending on the consistency of the blend. You also need about 5 cups of liquid, so you can make up the 5 cups of liquid with 1 packed stock, protein stock, and the other packed water. Of course, you need seasoning of choice, and if you use salt, you also need salt. Like I've said from the beginning, if you are using salt, please be careful of the quantity of seasoning that you are adding so that you don't make salty food for your guests this December. Add your salt and then taste and adjust your seasoning as you go. So points to note at this point is, remember to season in flavors because you want to build deeper flavor, you want to build depth, and you want the ingredients to enter inside. So remember to season in flavors. Do not add your spices, all of them at the beginning. So because it's not seasoning, because it's not salt, because it's curry and thyme, you want to add everything once. Do it in layers so that your jollof rice can have depth. Another thing you want to do is fry your tomato paste and your pepper mix properly. At this point, you need patience to fry it properly, because if you rush the process, you will most likely end up with sour tasting jollof rice or weak flavored jollof rice, and you do not want that. We have covered our water ratio. We'll talk about heat very quickly so that we can run through it. Like I was saying about the butter, the reason I like to add butter to my jollof rice is it adds to the richness, it adds to the texture, it improves the aroma. It gives you this very luxury taste, luxury finish. So if you can afford butter. Yes, so Perrysburg, thank you very much for that comment. Patience is very important. Now they hear am now for YouTube. Patience is very important for your jollof rice. Even Perrysburg agrees with me. Thank you so much, Perry. Thank you so much. And in fact, shout out to everybody that has been on this live with me. Hi, Bella. Good evening. Good evening, Bella. Thank you very much for joining. So, a quick shout out to all my TikTok family and all my YouTube family. If you came here from Instagram, shout out to you guys. Don't worry, the next one we'll do it on Instagram. I will create somehow that we'll do Instagram all for my Instagram guys. But for now, thank you so much for joining. You guys have been here for a while. I really appreciate it. And I hope you are learning. No. So if you have learned 18 or 2, if you've, jotted something or something, just drop it in the comments. What have you learned so far? What has stood out for you so far? Even though you knew it before, but the fact that he has said it now, just allow the thing to hit well in your head. What is that thing? Let me know in the comment section, please. It will help me to boost my morale. So now you can see that our stock and base hid a boy. So it is at this point that we will now add in our rice, which has been pre-washed. Remember I said I don't recommend that you parboil your rice. So now that we've added it in, of course, the water didn't really cover the rice. So we are going to add in our 2 cups of water because we have put 3 cups of stock. We have put 3 cups of stock. We're going to put 2 cups of water now to make for the 5 cups to 5 cups of rice. So at this point, you want to stir very well. You don't want to over stir so that your rice does not break. And of course, you want to taste to see if you need to adjust your seasoning. Now, you see what I said before. If we have been putting too much salt or too much this thing inside this place now, if I don't too much, awesome too much, but now it is perfect. So we basically use 1.5 teaspoon of seasoning alongside with the chicken stock, and we're good. It is perfect. At this point, I like to add another tablespoon of butter. Remember I said I like to add my butter in 3 stages. This is 3 tablespoons. I've added 1 at the beginning to the oil. At this stage, I'll add the second one. Then you mix it and we will cover. Now, when you are making jollof rice, you see foil paper. Foil paper is your friend. And the reason why foil paper is your friend is because it will help you trap the heat in the pot. If your pot cover is not tight enough, just use foil paper to cover it. Whether my pot cover is tight or not, I always use foil paper to cover my pot when I'm making jollof rice. I always use foil paper. It just helps me trap the heat and ensures that my rice cooks more with steam rather than with heat and water. So we're going to cover that up tightly. And see the way I'm struggling to cover it because I need this thing covered. Now, this is where you start to make your smoky jollof rice. Thank you so much, Perry. I like that you are learning Hi Perry, is it better now? Hi Perry, is it better now? Okay, thank you so much. Sorry about that. Thank you so much. I didn't know that my mic has gone has gone off. So basically what I was saying is at this point I'll take a couple of questions, I'll take a couple of clarifications while we wait for our rice to cook so that you see the end result of what our rice looks like. I'll take a couple of questions, I'll take a couple of clarifications, right? So if you have questions and all of that, please let me know at this point so that I can answer your questions. Whilst we are waiting for questions to come, you can see what our tomato looks like. Our pepper mix base now looks like. You know, I told you toast it. Remember, we didn't add any water at all to this thing, oh. But see, there is now water inside the pot. Can you see the water that is there? And you can see that the quantity of the tasashe and everything has reduced. If you look closely, you will see that it's beginning to look like it was burning, right? But it really wasn't, it was just toasting. You can see that it's beginning to look like it was burning. This is what you want. At this point, you can go ahead and blend without water. If you must add water when you are blending this thing, the water should be very small. Because if you add water now, all your hard work it has gone to drain, oh. All your hard work, everything to the ground. So please, at that point, you honestly don't want to add water. If your blender is strong enough, blend it without water. If not, just add a little tiny bit of water and you are good. Let me quickly check TikTok if we have any questions. Okay. Bella, long time. We will gist after this. I bet you. Okay, Perry, what are my recipes? What do you mean by what are my recipes? Are you asking for recipe for jollof rice or you're asking for recipe for any other meal? Please specify so that I can answer your question. Just specify so that I can answer your question, please. Thank you very much. So, our rice has been cooking for about 8 minutes, right? Another thing I like to do is you want to time your food, don't just leave it on fire like that. So we are going to check the rice and then we are going to add our second batch of onions. Can you see the smoke and the steam and the water coming from our pot? Now I know that some people will tell you, oh, okay, for jollof rice. Okay, Perry, I'm coming. I'll answer your question. I know that some people will tell you that, oh, when you're cooking jollof rice, don't open it. So if you open it, your rice not go cook again. It's a lie. It's not completely true. Don't open your pot too much, but you need to check your rice. You need to turn your rice so that the bottom doesn't start to cook and then the top is not has not even cooked at all at all. That's not what you want. So we are going to turn, lift and turn basically. Can see what I'm doing? So you lift from the bottom and you flip. That's basically what you are doing at this point. Okay? Now once you've done that, see, can you see how rich our jollof rice is already looking? Just look at that color. It never cook, oh, but can you see that color? You can see that color, Abby. Hold that thought, I'm coming. So at this point, we're going to add the remaining batch of our onions. You want to just put it on top of it, right? And let that steam there. So we're going to cover that again and just let it to continue to steam before we check it for the second time. Okay. Okay, so Perry is asking, what are my recipes for jollof rice? Basically, the recipe that I just showed you is my recipe for jollof rice. Sometimes I adjust it depending on my mood. So if I'm not in the mood to start doing this pepper mix base and all of that, I honestly would just blend my pepper and tomatoes before I toast it. But what I would now do in that situation is I'll ensure that I will steam that raw tomato and everything that I've blended, the blended mix. I will steam it first, like pour it into a pot and let it steam till all the water dries up. But I will not just steam it plain. I would season it. So spices, seasoning, herbs that I have, I would use it to season it. Sometimes I even add bay leaf. If I've blended before, if I don't toast and I just blend raw tomatoes and the rest, I will usually add bay leaf to it and make sure that it is flavorful before I use it for my jollof rice. But every other thing that you see me do here is basically my recipe for jollof rice. I always use butter because I feel like it adds to the richness, it adds to the aroma, and it gives you that extra rich luxury, vibe, taste, look, everything. I would always add butter. I would always season in layers. It helps my jollof rice. See, before now, I don't think I was a pro in cooking jollof rice. I used to have issues with jollof rice. In fact, I hated cooking jollof rice. And the reason was simple because sometimes my jollof rice go come out well. Sometimes go enter. So I'll be wondering what exactly is the problem. So I had to take my time to really understand jollof rice and its issues. Because then, if you tell me, let's cook jollof rice, I will find a way to convince you. Otherwise, I will say, no, let's not cook jollof rice. Let's cook something else. Do you understand? But after I paid more attention to jollof rice and everything, and I understood that it may be technical, but it's not that hard. All you need is just patience, and then you need to understand flavoring your tomato base and flavoring your oil, just basically flavoring in layers. So when you put your onions, put small seasoning. If it's salt that you are using, put small salt. Allow it to fry small. Then fry your tomatoes and your tomato paste. Make sure that you fry it properly. You don't want it to get burnt, but you also don't want it to not be properly fried, so that you don't start tasting that rawness of tomatoes or tatashe or the sour taste, because that is not going to be great for your jollof rice. And basically that's it. Another thing I don't do is I don't parboil my rice. I can't remember the last time I parboiled rice before I cook jollof rice. Because you see the way this thing is taking time to cook now. What is happening is it has enough time to absorb all the flavors that we've built since morning. All the flavors that we've been building since morning. The rice has enough time to absorb it. It's taking in everything and it's expanding. Rice used to expand when it cooks. It's expanding with it. But if I had parboiled my rice bland without any seasoning and then I now put it here, in about 12 minutes, depending on the kind of rice, it's already cooked. There's not enough time for it to absorb the seasoning and everything. So I hope I answered your question, Perry. No, I don't parboil my rice at all. For jollof rice, even for fried rice, coconut rice, I don't parboil my rice. The only thing I do when I'm cooking fried rice is, of course, I boil it with my seasoning and everything before stir frying. But we'll learn more about fried rice next week. I plan to have a live session like this next week for fried rice because it's at Christmas now. They do Christmas. Jollof rice and fried rice are the two basic things that we cook in this part of the world for Christmas. So I decided to do my own Father Christmas in my own little way and say, let me just share my recipes for this thing and let me do it live because it's easier than pre-recorded videos. There's no cut and join, nothing. You can see everything live. So say, oh, no magic, they happen for here. Oh, this is how we roll. So I'll be having a live session for fried rice next week Sunday at 6 p.m. sharp. Exactly the same time. No issue. Just join in at 6 p.m. and I'll be sharing my fried rice recipe with you. So if you want to learn how your fried rice can stay from morning till night, some people cook fried rice and by afternoon is already drawing or is already, so they are scared. They don't cook fried rice in large quantity. They say they spoil quick. I'm going to be sharing what I do differently that ensures that my fried rice stays. My fried rice sometimes stays till the next day. If you know finish, it stays till the next day. We just heat it up and we eat and it is still very, very okay. So I'm going to show you all of those things. And I'm going to show you the trick to getting that vibrant green, or should I say yellowish gold color of fried rice without necessarily adding food coloring. Okay, thank you, Perry. I'm glad I answered your question. It seems like I've been hitting the spot because nobody has questions. I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining. One thing I forgot to say that I need to say now. Some people use jollof rice spices for their jollof rice. So all them lasso, jollof seasoning, spicity and the rest, it is optional, but you can use it. Some of them help for color, of course. The ones that they do it because it's food coloring, but it's edible food coloring. So most of them help for food coloring. So you can add it, right? But when you are adding it, also know that they are mostly heavily seasoned because they are seasonings. So they've also added salt, they've added seasoning and everything. So that should also affect the quantity of salt and other seasoning that you add because you don't want to add too much. So when you are using jollof spice, even though it is optional, try to reduce the quantity of salt that you are adding and the quantity of other seasoning that you are adding. So since we don't have questions, let me just quickly go through common jollof rice problem, then the prevention and the fixes. By the time we are done with this, our jollof rice feed on almost the cook. So the first thing is burnt jollof rice. Why do you have burnt jollof rice? How do you prevent it? And even if you try to prevent it and it doesn't work, how do you fix it? One, you have burnt jollof rice because of high heat or you're not using the right pot. So your jollof rice is just burning. There is no smoky flavor, no smoky aroma, nothing like that. It just they burn, they go. That is because either your heat is too high or the type of pot you are using. So maybe your pot is too small, the rice cannot really expand as much as it would have expanded, or the quality of pot you are using is not good. So maybe your pot is too thin and too much heat is just going through it too quickly. So the way to prevent that is, one, don't ever use high heat to cook your jollof rice. Always use medium to low heat to cook your jollof rice. Regulate your heat properly. And two, choose your pot correctly. So you want to use the right pot every time. If you don't have this kind of pots, you can always use, the locally made ones that are heavy and all of that. But if you try to prevent it and maybe after choosing the right pot, after trying to regulate your heat, you still notice that the rice is just burning, but it's not giving you that smoky flavor and everything. What you want to do is transfer the top of the rice that has not gotten burnt into another pot. Then cover it tightly and steam on very low heat. Not high heat, please. Very low heat. That should work for you. Now, the next problem that some people most likely face is soggy rice. I talked about this before. The simple reason for soggy rice is that your water is too much or the quality of your rice is not great. So the quality of your rice the demands little water, and you have put, maybe the quality of your rice demands that you use half cup of water to cook it. But because he said 1 cup of water to 1 cup of rice, you have used 1 cup of water now and it's now soggy. That's why I said from the beginning that the first important thing for you to do is know your rice. So if you know your rice and you know that, oh, this my rice cooks very quickly with very little water, my mathematics will not work for you again. No. You will now use half cup of water instead of 1 cup of water. The regular measurement for good quality rice is 1 cup of water to 1 cup of 1 cup of liquid stock or water to 1 cup of rice. But if you find out that you have now put too much water, the water is too much, rather than trying to sieve the water out, which would reduce the quality of your stock that you've already tried to build, quality of your tomato base that you've tried to build, try to regulate. The way to prevent it is regulate your water quantity and know that jollof rice cooks with steam, not heat, not water. So it's not when the heat is high that the rice go quick done. It's not when the water is plenty that the rice go quick done. It is steam and patience that your jollof rice needs. But if you have put too much water, all you have to do is open the pot halfway. So after turning it just now, rather than covering the pot again, just open the pot for a bit. Leave it to cook open for a while, uncovered. what that would do is most of the water would evaporate. Then you can continue the process. Some people say, oh, if your water is too much, cut yam and put inside. Me, I don't know that one. No, I have never done that. I know maybe in those days in the past when I was still coming up, I probably tried that, but I know sure say it worked for me. So I don't do that at all. Now, another problem that most people have with their jollof rice is pale color. So maybe at this point now you finish cooking and you see that your rice is looking like white rice that you just put small stew and the stew is not enough. Perry is just cracking me up here. Thank you so much, Perry. Thank you for engaging this much. Shout out to you. You are a sweet girl or a sweet boy. I don't know if you are a girl or boy. Please pardon me. You are a sweet person. Okay? Thank you so much. So, like I was saying, pale color of your jollof rice. Now, the reason why you probably would have pale color of jollof rice is too much tomatoes. So your ratio of tomatoes to tatache and shombo when you were making your pepper mix, the tomatoes was obviously more than the tatache and shombo. Remember I said that it is tatache and shombo that makes for color, not tomatoes. So if your tomato is too much, that color no go there. Another reason why you probably would have pale color of jollof rice is you do not allow the tomatoes fry very well. So when your tomatoes fries very well, apart from the fact that it affects the taste, it no longer has that sour or tangy taste, it darkens in color. So if you don't fry it good enough, you will not get that color that you are looking for. So the way to prevent pale jollof rice is use more tatache and shombo than tomatoes. Like I said, if you have money for sweet red bell pepper, you can add it. It adds for sweetness and flavor and color, but it costs for this part of the country. So, but if you can afford it, you can add it. But if after trying, maybe you've used enough satache, you've used enough shombo, and you are still saying that your jollof rice is not giving the color, it's giving rice and stew that the stew is not enough, no wahala. Maybe you added too much water, and you did not allow the base thicken, or maybe the ratio of tomato base that you use for the quantity of rice was not enough. So maybe you were cooking 10 cups of rice, you now use only 300 ml of tomato base, and there's no tomato paste at all. It will be pale in color. So what you probably would do is, at this point that your rice is cooking, you can quickly start frying another tomatoes by the side. So put vegetable oil on fire, fry onions, fry tomato paste, and if you still have that pepper mix, put fry. But if you don't have, fry only tomato paste, enough quantity depending on the rice you are cooking. So at this point, the next time we are opening the pot now to turn the rice, you can add that tomato base to it. Stir it very well till everything combines and let it cook through. When it finally cooks, if you have fried that second batch of tomatoes properly, you would realize that the color would deepen. Your rice will not be as pale as it probably was the first time. And you just want it to steam very well so that you don't start tasting raw tomatoes and all of that. So if you've ever had pale jollof rice, try that hack and let me know how it works out for you, because it don't work for me plenty times. So I'm giving you that tip because I have tried it. It is tested, trusted, and approved. So another problem that most people would have with their jollof rice is maybe sour taste. And like I said earlier, sour taste is usually because raw pepper base, so you didn't fry your pepper enough. That's why you're having sour taste. All you have to do to prevent it and fix it is ensure that you fry your base properly. But if after frying and adding water, you taste it and you still dey hold your mouth, allow that water to boil first before you put your rice inside. It will reduce the sour taste of the rice before adding in the rice. If you've already added the rice, you may just need your rice to cook for a little bit longer, and you can use butter. If you are not using butter before, you can try to use butter to correct that taste. It will also work. Then your onions, adding onions halfway can also help to cover up that taste of raw tomatoes. So before we take the last one that I noted here, I don't know if you have any questions. Let us now check our rice for the second time. Just look at that. Ooh, our rice is looking good, guys. Hey, you guys. See wetin I dey see here. Let me show you. Just legudu rice. See, can you see jollof rice? Mmm. Can you see that color? If your jollof rice is not looking like this Christmas, and you attended this live session, omo, you need to send your address to me. I will come there with police. See, even Perry is saying that her plate is just look at this, and it actually tastes as good as it looks. But we're going to let this steam just for a little bit more. Oh my God, let me show you. See, you can see that it's not sticking together, but we still need it to steam so that the moisture that is in it dries for a bit. But because the rice is already cooked, now we can smoke the rice for a little bit. So we're just going to increase the heat just for about 2 minutes. We're going to increase the heat like this. Let it smoke. You would see smoke will start coming out. Now let it smoke a bit. Then I will tell you how to ensure that the smoke is retained. Not those rice that you just smell the smoke, but when you are eating it, it doesn't really taste like firewood jollof anymore. I'll let you know how to retain it. But let us smoke for a bit for about 2 minutes. Perry, you dey see am, abi? You dey see am? You dey see am, abi? Like it's giving what it should give. GDK, season greetings. Thank you for joining. This is one of the best palm oil in Nigeria right now. If you need palm oil, you see this GDK. I'm literally like their brand ambassador. See, I have GDK palm oil everywhere in my house. It's what I use and it's very good. So if you're looking for a palm oil brand, just hit them up on Instagram or on TikTok. Okay? They have like one of the best. That's the oil I've been using for a very long time now. I don't even use any other palm oil for my house. Okay? So whilst our rice is steaming, we are going to talk about the last and what I like to call most common problem that most people face with jollof rice, which is unevenly cooked jollof rice. As in, some of your jollof rice go cook, some not go cook. What causes that most of the time is too much heat. So if you use this heat now to cook the rice from beginning to this point, your rice some will cook, some will not cook. Uneven distribution of heat. So if you are using this pot now to cook jollof rice, and you go and use this burner, this very tiny burner, right? What will happen is the rice will not really be cooking. Only the middle will be cooking. The sides will not really be cooking. Another reason why you probably would have that is quality of rice. So if the rice have been mixed, maybe 2 different type of rice, and one is stronger than one, it usually will give you that problem of unevenly cooked rice. Can you see the smoke that is coming from our rice right now? At this point that it is smoking like this, you can see the smoke is even coming out from the pot. It means it's smoking very well. You are going to reduce the gas again. So that's your steam. That's your low heat that you have been using to cook the rice. Reduce it and leave it there for 5 minutes. Don't open the pot. If you open the pot, all the smoke don't go. So you want the smoke to settle in the jollof rice. Let everything cook together. So that when I open this pot finally now, my neighbors can even breathe, because the smoky jollof rice that they are smelling is not just smoke as in bonbon rice. That's not it. By the time you leave this, it will settle in and it would become a part of the rice. But if you open it now, all the smoke will just evaporate. So you just only burn your rice. You don't really cook smoky jollof rice. I hope that helps. So for unevenly cooked rice, the way to prevent it is, 1, pay attention to the rice that you are using. Like I said, know your rice. 2, regulate your heat properly. You don't want to use high heat to cook your jollof rice throughout the cooking process. All you want to do is, at the beginning, like I said, 3 to 4 minutes, depending on the type of, the quantity of rice that you are cooking, let it smoke for a bit, just so that the smoke becomes a part of the rice from that very beginning. Then you want to cook the rest of the way using steam. You want to also ensure that you have a central heat source. So if you are cooking this kind of pot now, you cannot use small burner. the middle will be cooking, the sides will not cook. But then if after doing all these things, so maybe you have used central heat system, you have regulated your heat, but somehow where you bought your rice from, you did not know that they mixed the rice, or that the quality of rice was not great. The one that you tried was good, but halfway through you are realizing that my rice, some done, some never done, some are looking white while the others have cooked. Don't even panic. And his spice, your father Christmas, has got you covered. So what you need to do at that point is, when you open the pot now and you realize that, oh, some are cooked, some are not cooked, take some water, sprinkle over the top. Don't add water. No, that's not what you want to do. Take just a little bit of water, maybe like 2 tablespoons or something. Just sprinkle it on the top, cover it, and reduce your heat even further. Make it be like say the fire go soon off, but you know they off. But at that point, you are going to have to leave that rice for longer. So you are going to need even more patience than you needed in the beginning. You are going to leave it there. After about 10-15 minutes, depending on the quantity of rice. If the rice is plenty, you leave it for 20 minutes. You come, you stir, like you flip and turn, then you try it again. If it's still hard, no problem. Don't add water again this time. Just flip and turn, cover it, and let it steam again for another 10 minutes. If the rice is very plenty, 15 to 20 minutes, and you check. If by the third time you are checking, oh, it's still not cooked, you can then sprinkle a little bit of water. Don't go and add plenty water. You're going to add 1 cup of water, or you're going to add no. Depending on the quantity of rice, if it's this 5 cups of rice, just a little bit, 2 tablespoons is okay. 2 tablespoons of water does not even look like water at all. Just add it, and if you do that and you leave the rice for at least 30 more minutes, trust me, your rice will not be unevenly cooked. I've tried it many times. It has worked for me. That's why I'm saying it with so much emphasis. Like, I am so sure that it will work, because it has worked for me a lot of times. Okay, so try that and let me know. Okay, so you are asking which rice can you advise is the best. Truly, we have different types of rice these days. Like I said, for basmati rice, I use golden seller. That's what I use. I don't know, it has worked for me over time. I know a couple of my friends that probably use airplane, and then there's another one. But for basmati rice, I use golden seller. Now, for normal long grain rice, in all honesty, there are different brands in the market. Before, I would tell you I used to use Mama Gold, but then I realized that at some point it was as if they were rebagging Mama Gold. So you buy Mama Gold, but when you get home, it's not Mama Gold that is inside. Same thing that they were doing with cap price at a point. Cap prices to be very good, but at some point, I don't know if it is cap that reduced their quality, or that when you buy it, they used to rebag it in the market. So I cannot really tell you, oh, this is the type of rice to use, because we have a problem of adulteration in Nigeria, right? What I'll tell you is, whenever you want to buy rice, look for the best way that you can know good quality rice. Like I said to you, the way I know good quality rice sometimes, if I want to buy rice, that time my mommy used to know quality rice. Like, when they give her the rice, when they puncture the rice and give her, there's a way she looks at it and she will know. But me, I don't know. That one did not work for me. So when I want to buy rice, if they give me the rice like this, I will take 1 grain and bite it in between my teeth. This one is softer because it has been washed. If I bite it and it just breaks very quickly, I never buy that rice, because in my opinion, that rice would get cooked too quickly. Water would go through it too quickly. But if I bite it and it's hard to come off, right, I just know that, oh, okay, this rice not go quick cook, so it might be good. So another thing you can now look out for is, in the rice now, is the rice the same color? So is all of them white, or are some golden brown and some are white? Most of the time, when you see some different color, most of the time, not all the time, most of the time, they probably have mixed the rice. So Perry, maybe you should try this when next you want to buy rice, because truly, I can't even tell you buy this rice, because most of them are adulterated. It's only golden seller I've been buying that I've not really had any problems, but that's basmati. Most of them can get adulterated very quickly. So I can tell you now, go and buy Big Bull. Big Bull is good. You buy it once, twice. By the third time, you realize that, oh, it's not the same quality as when I bought it before. So, but just try. If you know any other method that you can use to know good rice in the market, please share it with me. Oh, I need to learn too. Only my method cannot work for me every time. So at this point, our rice is pretty much ready. You can see the smoke coming from the rice, right? See, I wish you were in this kitchen right now. The aroma, eh, is something else. And you can notice that most of the moisture has now dried up. It is not clumpy. It's standing. See, if this rice cools down now, you realize that it they stand one. Like, it is great. See, the aroma of this rice is amazing, and you can testify with the color. You can testify with the color. So let's dish it in the plate so that you can see it at close range and judge for yourself. See now. See rice now. I say try my recipe. Thank me later. Hey, guys, just look at that. See, okay, I need a spoon. Sorry, can you help me with a spoon? Just look at the rice. Can you see the color? You can see the vibrant color. You were here all through when I cooked it. Oh, I didn't add extra water. I didn't have to start fixing pale jollof rice or anything like that. But just look at how beautiful. Thank you. Just look at how beautiful the color looks. Now, you can see the rice. See. Make we try them. Perry, bring your plate, bring your plate. Bring your plate. Guys, I'm not even going to lie. This rice is giving what it should give already. But there's one last thing that we have not done. Remember our last batch of butter? We've not added it. So at this point, you want to add it. You want to leave your steam on just for a bit. Then you want to add it and you want it to melt. Some people will cover the pot at this point and allow it melt first before they mix it together. But you can also do what I'm doing now. Just mix it together and let it melt. What this last butter will do for you is it gives you this luxury finish. So you can literally taste the richness of the butter at the end. That is one. Two, it gives you this extra shine. So you can see the way this one looks and you can see the way this one looks. There's a difference if you can see it closely. This one has a shine to it because of the butter. This one is just looking a bit dull. I don't know if you can see this clearly. This one is having a shine. This one is a bit dull. See? Having a shine and it's a bit dull. So you can now see the difference if you add butter at the last stage. And of course, because you've added butter, the aroma too is different. It has this very fine and sweet aroma at the end because of the butter. You don't want this to cook for longer. Your rice is fully cooked and you have the perfect jollof rice ever. So with that being said, my guys, we have come to the end of cooking jollof rice like a pro this Christmas. I hope that you've learned a thing or two from this session. I hope it's been impactful. I hope it has helped. And I hope that with this, you'll be able to like improve your jollof rice game this Christmas. But of course, if after this live session, you have any issues or any wahala, you try your hands on jollof rice and it not really work, you can always send me a direct message on Instagram or TikTok. On Instagram, you can send me a message at ehispice__. I would respond to you once I see your messages. I am not like that. I will always respond. On TikTok, you can send me a message at ehi_spice, and I will also respond to any questions that you might have about the jollof rice. You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel at Ehi's Corner. Ehi as in AIRHE, then corner. This live video will be posted there as a video, so you can always go back to it if you want to make references or anything. You can always go back to the video to watch it and note what you need to note. Like I said, next week Sunday we'll be having another live session for fried rice. So if fried rice is something that you want to improve on, or you want to learn a thing or two, or you already know how to cook fried rice, but you just want to learn another recipe, you want to see how I do my own, then you can join that live session at 6 p.m. on Sunday, the 21st of December 2025. I hope you all are like Perry and you learned a lot from this session. Thank you so much for joining us. Or thank you so much for joining me. Make I go chop my rice. Make I go drink some juice. I've been standing for quite a while. I hope when you cook fried rice this Christmas or jollof rice this Christmas, your jollof rice looks like this and tastes even better. I'll see you next week Sunday. Bye. Okay, make I go chop.